Browsers online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Today, we are going to be examining the possibilities of weapons configurations. This actually is quite a complex subject because a large part of it boils down to playstyle and personal preference. I'm biased against certain weapons because of the old Battletech, classic Battletech, board game. There's certain weapons that are not effective there, and I just can't bring myself to field a lot of them or use them in the video game just because I just remember how that weapon failed me so in a campaign. But that aside, just because it's effective in the board game does not mean it's not going to be effective in the video game or will be effective in the video game, and vice versa. Taking a quick glance, we're not going to be able to go over every weapon in the game, but the basic ballistic weapons, the AC-20, can inflict 20 points of damage, having a fire rate of once every 4 seconds. In a 10-second period, it could inflict 50 points of damage. However, the AC-5, with its doing 5 damage per shot, and its fire rate of every 1.5 seconds in a 10-second period, could do 30 points of damage. However, due to the weight difference between the AC-20 weighing 14 tons and the AC-5 weighing 8 tons, you could almost get 2 AC-5s for the AC-20, which translates to it being the potential of doing 30 points of damage. The thing here you have to keep in mind the hard points. If you have a mech that only has one ballistic hard point, you might be better off putting one bigger gun that can do more damage. But if you can put other weapons in there just to make more efficient use of the hard points. For example, if you only have 2 energy hard points, would you be better served with 1 large laser in each slot, so you have a total of 2 large lasers, or would it be better for you to have 2 medium pulse lasers? And with that, you have to assess the weight of the mech, how many heat sinks, and your own playstyle. The thing to keep in mind with the AC-2, which is very effective, it's basically a machine gun, doing 2 points of damage every shot, and a recharge time of 0.52 seconds. That's just over half a second. So, in a 10-second period, it could inflict 10.4 points of damage. And since it only weighs 6 tons, you could mount a bunch of those. Actually, I've toyed around with the idea of trying to see if I could squeeze 4 of those into the Cicadia 3C version. You can, but its movement is going to be around 40 to maybe 50 kilometers an hour. If you only put 2 of the ACs in there, you could get the speed up to around 90, which is still painfully slow for a fast mech. It's kind of sad. It's like, oh, this mech only has 125 kilometers an hour. Oh, it is so slow. That's how you know when you're running fast mechs. Likewise, the energy weapons have some similar trade-offs back and forth. For example, the small laser, and if you're not familiar with the lasers versus the pulse lasers, the lasers have a burn time where it's one straight beam and you have to hold it on the target for a certain period of time. The pulses do more damage, usually have less range, but they'll do it in 3 or 4 quick pulses, almost like a machine gun burst. If you're looking to just do sheer damage, the pulses do more. If you're looking to try to have a burn time to sweep across the legs of fast mechs or different other situations and have a slightly longer range, the straight lasers are better. But the small laser does 3 damage, half ton, and 2 heat with a cooldown rate of 2.25 seconds. In a 10-second period, it could inflict 13.3 seconds. The small pulse laser, which incidentally the small laser and small pulse laser have the exact same range, and they're very short, maximum of 180 meters, so they're pretty short range weapons. But the small pulse laser has 3.4 damage with 1 ton, 2.4 heat, and the same cooldown rate of 2.25. However, in a 10-second period, it could inflict 15.1 damage. So does this mean the small pulse laser does so much more? Because, due to the weight, you could easily put 6 of them in a mech. You'd be hard-pressed to put more than, unless it's a larger mech, and heat and everything, you'd be hard-pressed to put that many large lasers, large pulse lasers, or anything else, especially if it's like a Jenner or Cicadia versions that can take 6 energy hardpoints. You would be hard-pressed to figure out how to get more, sheer damage-wise. And there are a lot of players who go with that. There is a problem with this small pulsed laser and the small laser. Actually, both are kind of together. First, you do have the really short range, which if you're a fast mech, that's not as much of a problem. Although I do know many situations where that range did help. And it's kind of sad when you're talking about the range of a medium laser, which goes out to 540 meters, and you're sniping. But I have had situations where that range is very useful. The thing is burn time. How much do you have to hold that sight on the target? Because one large laser, for example, does 9 damage per shot, and in a 10-second period could do 27 damage. And you'll really only have to hold it on there for 3 shots. Whereas the small laser, you have a bunch of them, combined could do a lot more damage. But you need to hold the target on there for quite some period of time, and that's the problem. And when you're in a maneuvering fight, a small fast mech running around, it's very hard to hold that much damage on the target. It does happen from time to time, but it's been my experience, my play style, etc. I just don't have that many opportunities to really sit back and peg a mech that much in its back. Usually either it will turn around and start trying to chase me, or one of his friends will come after me. I would not support or recommend everyone load down with small pulse lasers. While on a per tonnage basis, weight basis, heat basis, they are more efficient and will do a lot more damage than particle cannons and large lasers, I just don't think that they are as useful as a lot of people say. The other trade-off is how many hard points do you have to really mount these weapons on there. 2 small lasers are not going to be very effective unless you only have 1 ton left to work with, you had 2 slots left, 2 energy hardpoints, so just stick them on there for close in. Then just basically filler, that's fine. If you're going to try to load out a large mech, heavy, with small lasers, you're not going to get the cost benefit. They're not going to be as effective for you. Again, personal opinion. But I will look at some footage here, and we'll get a look at how effective these situations and weapons are. Now, what I mean when I say the small pulse lasers have a longer burn time, what I'm referring to is how long you have to hold the crosshairs on the target over the course of maneuvering battle. This is a Cicadia 3M with 4 small pulse lasers and 1 machine gun. And the small pulse lasers will fire almost 5 times in a 10-second period. Their firing rate is just over 2 seconds. And in order to really get the full damage effectiveness, I have to hold the crosshairs on the target almost constantly. That's very difficult when you're in a maneuvering fight, and you're running around trying to avoid terrain, other mechs, etc. And that's where I find the effectiveness of the small pulse laser to diminish. I would think a better combination, and I've run quite a few mixes of medium lasers, medium pulses, as well as small pulses, just to give an added boost if you have the energy hard points. But due to the low damage, I just don't see them to be the ultimate weapon. While you have a lot more potential, they're held back due to the amount of time you have to hold on the target. This one I actually only did 172 damage, which isn't terrible. For a maneuvering fight, I would want a lot more, and I wasn't in a situation where I was able to get a real good baseline comparison between them. It doesn't help that I was outnumbered and didn't have a lot of support, and on Terra Firma, you may think I'm crazy, but actually Terra Firma is one of my favorite maps to run on. Actually, Terra Firma, Caustic Valley, and Turtamine Desert are my favorite maps.
Target acquired.
This battle, I was running Cicadia, same version of Cicadia, this time only with 4 medium lasers. Gives me better range. With a slower fire rate, I find it just works better. I would prefer medium pulses, but due to the weight difference between the two, 2 tons for the medium pulse, 1 ton for the regular medium laser, it reaches a point with this mech where you're forced to choose between the weapon or the heatsink, because the pulse lasers run hotter, they do more damage, shorter range, but I really like the way it's just a few quick pulses and you do the damage. It's real nice when you're doing run-bys on enemy mechs. Another thing I like about this map is being able to run off the cliff there and drop down, disengage, and then just run around over here. They don't know if I ran off. He's not even looking for me, actually. He's running off doing some other things. In this battle, I actually did 300 damage, which is respectable for a light mech in a fast maneuvering battle. But I personally find I do so much better with medium lasers. Just the added range. That'll come up shortly, where you get some range benefit. So coming around here, you can do a longer ranged shot off while you're running it by and around. Now in this situation is one of the few where you really could benefit from having a bunch of small pulses, but you can sit there behind them. I find most of the time mechs aren't that distracted by another mech that they're ignoring you and you can sit behind them and just keep hammering away. This battle is more typical what I find in light maneuvering fights, where it's just a big spinning melee. This one, it was coming down towards the end. The other team was focused on killing our team off, leaving just me and the spider against, was it 4? Well, unfortunately it doesn't give me a count as to how many there were, so there were 4 or 5 mechs left. And they were not trying to go for any of the resources, so we were way ahead on the resource points. Now it's just a matter of distracting them and keeping them off the resources until our points accumulated. But as you can tell, when I'm running around, I don't have a lot of time to just sit and hold the crosshairs on the target as I run around. I spend as much time running towards the target as away. Maybe a third. And it just doesn't benefit to have a bunch of weapons that you just have to keep constantly holding on target. The machine guns are very good on some of the builds, but they just don't put on enough damage for initial hit to really drive home the attack. One of the reasons I like those maps is you have some open space, but you still have a lot of terrain to hide behind and to work with. Situations where you have a lot of buildings, they can easily duck behind and work around. That would benefit the shorter ranged, the small lasers, small pulse lasers, and machine guns better simply because you're easily able to engage and disengage at closer range. If you limit yourself to just weapons that have a maximum of 180 meters range, you're going to have a hard time responding to something that's shooting at you while you're closing on it.
Heat level critical.
I also will find what you want to do is what I call a rating circuit and or main circuit and secondary circuit. You can call it rating and maneuvering, whatever, whatever you prefer. But one circuit that has everything on it that'll build more heat, and for the initial hit when you're in a real maneuvering situation where you're just running around, where you're able to drop more heat. But in a situation where you're heavily engaged like this, you're just constantly turning and firing, have a cooler circuit. And also, if you're on a map that's hotter, you'll have a circuit ready to start using that will have a lot less heat built up on it. That Highlander's looking awful tired. When I was in this, I was really wondering who was going to give out first. Two hunchbacks, was it a Jägermech or a Blackjack? Highlander, and what was the other one? Spider running around. I'd love to know what his condition was at the end of the match.
Heat level critical.
Can't have much armor left. I was trying to concentrate on one target as much as I could, and then move on. What I find in this type of situation, players will kind of group together, but there'll be one off alone, disengage from the group, jump that one, keep beating him down. Others will migrate over towards you, disengage, circle around, find the new lone guy, jump on him. Eventually, all things come to an end. But I did 568 damage in that run. And again, this is personal opinion. I think medium lasers and medium pulses, or a mixture of the two, is far more effective for faster mechs. At least for some of the arsenal. A mixture with them with some small pulses, depending on what your heat and weight allow. So that's my thought on weapons in general. Well, I will show one other video. This battle is... I was using the heat vision. Normally I use the night vision. I was trying it out, but this is actually two Ultra AC5s. See across the top here it says weapon jammed? The AC5 actually is, stated fire rate is 1.5 second recharge. The actual application and firing rate is on par with the AC2. It's very fast. You burn through ammo. I think I had 5 tons ammo for the two AC5s on this, and I routinely ran out. And it's really nice, good range weapon, but it's pretty much half the time it's jammed. This situation is the only one where it really works. You just do a couple short bursts. At long range, you can see those are AC5, Ultra AC5s. But there they start jamming. I've had them jam at the first shot, and the second one jammed at the third shot, and then I'm basically defenseless as a big mech that approaches on me with just my large lasers. I would not say they're that effective. I wouldn't say they're totally ineffective. They get a little frustrating running them, I'll tell you that. They have their good points and their bad. they are very good rates of fire. They do a lot of damage. But that jamming, I've not noticed any change on the statistical chances of it jamming if it's on a mech that's fully elited or not. So I don't know if there's any kind of skill bonuses. It would be nice if they did, but I've not noticed that. And it just, sending rounds off and then it jams. And anytime you have a weapon that will jam, it will fail you when you need it the most. That's just fact. So I can't say I specifically endorse the Ultra AC5. Here's a last little side note. Have you ever wondered if it's possible to one-shot kill a mech without getting a headshot? And if you've wondered, yes, it is possible. Just like that.